Russian President Vladimir Putin may have made a major miscalculation when he rejected the ceasefire that was supposed to start on Monday and instead presented direct talks with Ukraine, no preconditions, on Thursday in Istanbul. Zelensky, not only saying, yes, let's do it, proposed Vladimir Putin, why don't you come to Istanbul and have a direct, and I mean a direct conversation, you and I, in a room. As he said on social media, Vladimir Putin is the one who started this war, and he is the only one who can finish it. On top of that, Zelensky is the only person in Ukraine who can legally have these kind of discussions. And after Zelensky called out Vladimir Putin saying, hey, look, first of all, let's have a ceasefire now, and second of all, let's you and I meet one-on-one, it's been eerily silent from the Russian side. That being said, Zelensky's going to Istanbul, at least to Turkey, on May 15th. He's going to meet with his counterpart there, and if Vladimir Putin shows up or not, we still don't know. Heck, it is roughly about 48 hours since Zelensky came forward and made this idea of, hey, Vladimir Putin, come meet with me one-on-one. And funny enough, Vlad has not said a thing. The only things we've gotten is a word here and there when it comes to negotiations in which Russia still doesn't want to give anything up. But Zelensky today, in his own speech and on social media, said that he, Vladimir Putin, is afraid to have direct negotiations with Zelensky. That's right. He straight up just said it, came to the point. Vlad is scared to meet with me. Which is kind of one of those things in which he said that thing out loud. The thing that we've all been thinking is that Vladimir Putin from day one has been scared of Zelensky. That's why he's been demanding that Zelensky be removed from power. Oh, we can't negotiate with him. Now suddenly, out of nowhere on Monday, Putin is willing to talk to Zelensky in Ukraine, even though he doesn't recognize their authority. And it just brings things to another level, which makes people realize that that Monday night speech, it wasn't prepared. That's why Putin was so late to the meeting, the one that he called himself. He was late by an hour and a half. It's because Russia, at least at that very moment, was kind of going off of fumes, not really understanding what Putin was going to say, how he was going to say it, what he would do. Because realistically speaking, if we talk from the Trump administration point of view, Putin is not having the cards. He's running out of anything to play. And so this is just a stall tactic. And the crazy part is, not only is Zelensky calling Putin out, we even see Donald Trump, who in a way to try to entice Putin to come over to this own meeting that, remember, he is calling for, said, you know what, and I'll be, Saudi Arabia, not too far away. If a meeting is called and Vladimir Putin is going to go there, heck, I personally will also go there, saying that he would stand side by side with Ukraine to have this meeting with Putin, which I got to tell you, if said meeting were to happen on Thursday, that is a historic meeting, something that will be definitely in the history books. The first time Ukraine not only meeting with Russia, but also the United States coming together, the three of them in a room kind of going at each other. But from the looks of it, Vladimir Putin is not going to Istanbul. From everything we've been seeing from the Russian side, they're just going to send a delegation to talk. Now, the U.S. is pressuring Ukraine no matter what. They should sit down for this conversation. But it kind of moves past the original reason why we even got to this point, which was sanctions were supposed to start Monday. We were giving them an ultimatum. Hey, either sanctions and weapons to Ukraine, or Russia, ceasefire. And at this very moment, there is still no unconditional ceasefire that's been approved by Russia. And it doesn't look like there's going to be one either. Because, realistically speaking, Russia wants to iron out everything before a ceasefire, while the rest of the world, including the United States, says, no, stop the fighting now, and then we'll have a discussion. And we see that even recently with Keith Kellogg, the U.S. envoy to the United States in peace negotiations with Ukraine, in which even today, twice, he actually talked about how the United States is proposing a 30-kilometer wide buffer zone. This would be essentially somewhere right where the line is currently frozen, 15 kilometers into the Russian-occupied held territories, 15 kilometers into the Ukrainian territory, and then we put satellites above it. And we'll see if Russia violates that. And then from there, obviously, if Russia violates it, because Russia has violated everything, and the U.S. knows it, that's why they're proposing this. They want to make sure they catch Russia red-handed and be like, oh, we saw you on the map, you did such thing, you're the one who is causing the issues. But Kellogg took another step, way further, by saying, hey, and we're also talking about a resilience force.
And then we talk about the resiliency force, and this is a force of what they call the E3, but it's actually now E4. When you're talking about the Brits, the French, as well as the Germans, and now actually the Poles have a force west of the Dnieper River, which means it's out of contact range. And then to the east, you have a peacekeeping force, and what it would look like with a third party involved with that. So you can actually monitor a ceasefire.
Made up of European troops, not U.S. troops, from France, Germany, the U.K., and even Poland, who would be west of the Dnieper River, which would be far enough away from the front line, so they're not really, at the battle, but they are somewhere in there so that Russia can't fire deeper into Ukraine. And I don't think they're going to actually give the exact area in which they would be, because they don't want to tell Russia, oh, they're here, so you can hit over here, if you kind of catch my drift. That said, Kellogg's, what he's saying there is what the U.S. is proposing, and Russia's already said no to that. Russia said no peacekeeping force, we're not giving up territory, we don't want a buffer zone. So it seems like we really are at a stalemate in which Russia themselves proposed a meeting. Ukraine agreed to it, upgraded it. The United States upgraded it. They were handed two different plans, the European plan and the American plan, and Russia has said no to all of it, which once again puts us in a really, really strange place, because the diplomatic way of doing things is failing. The one way that Donald Trump wanted to do it, and I mean, look, from the get-go, we all know that we didn't really want to do this route. We knew this is where it was going to go, but Donald Trump wanted to do it. That's fine. We tried it. Trump has been in office for several months, and it's clearly not working. And it's funny because Putin thought the miscalculation was that, well, Ukraine would not have direct negotiations with Russia. They would never do it. And I mean, with hours later, Zelensky's like, no, we're doing it. It's happening. You and I, come on, let's do it. And because of Russia's miscalculation, it now puts us in a weird bind to where, yeah, sanctions and weapons are going to happen. And when you look at like Russian media and see how they're reacting to this, I go on tests, just like literally before this video, I started recording it. The title, Russia must brace for Western moves that hurt both sides. And in it, it says Western countries have shown they're ready to harm their own economies in order to spite Russia. So Moscow must brace itself for further moves like this. That is what Vladimir Putin, that's a quote from Vladimir Putin. You can see that he's not preparing to end this war. He is getting ready to take the blows and say, okay, fine, hit us with the sanctions, give Ukraine the weapons, and we'll see what happens. He's at a point where he doesn't care anymore. And what do you do to said person who just doesn't care anymore? There's no pressure that you can put on them that would essentially get them to stop in the sense of sanctions and things. This is where world leaders really need to come together and start making the hard decision of what kind of weapon are we going to give Ukraine now to hurt Russia enough? Because the pressure is not enough. Pressure is not enough. You have to now physically hurt Russia in some way, to some capacity, to the point to where they have no choice. It's different than pressure. Is it going after oil refineries again? Is it giving Ukraine long-range weapons to strike even further military bases? Is it creating some kind of other force that we don't even comprehend yet because they're still working? We don't know. And that's where we sit, in which we see Witkoff and Kellogg and even Rubio going to these talks in Turkey to see if Russia shows up. Everyone's putting their cards on the table. The United States sending 3 representatives, Ukraine, Zelensky going, and Russia at this point, maybe Lavrov, maybe a couple other dignitaries, and that's it. And if that's the case, then let's just say that Russia would be embarrassing themselves to a point to where I'm sure the United States will not forget it. And I think that's where things are heading towards. Granted, we still have a day and a half until this meeting is going to take place. So the question I leave you is Putin going to show up? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please share and repost my videos, and follow me for more.